Welcome to Wellness with Purpose.
We need more connection as human beings. We need to be out in nature more as human beings and not always on devices. That is my concern. Are we going too far? And with some of these tech billionaires, man, they don't even like humans. They want it to be all robots. They got a lot of money, which means they got a lot of power. So it's just a little scary. We pulled together a task force of residents and city folks and by the time we finished that 30% design, the city was on board.
Wow.
Accepted that. And our approach was to turn it into a natural stream.
Okay.
Because you can get so many more benefits. It improves water quality. It's habitat for fish and wildlife. We're cleaning up contamination as we go because all of the soil, when you're turning it back into a natural creek, there's a lot of cut and fill because you have to bring back the meanders, right?
She came to Jacksonville with almost nothing. A VISTA volunteer working with families in public housing and seniors who had no one else. And now she's building 30-mile trail that will connect the same communities to parks, school, health, and each other cause. And the entire country just named her 2025 Trail Champion for it. I'm talking to Kay Ehas, the CEO of Groundwork Jacksonville. And this one is going to hit different. Kay, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Take me back to those VISTA's days. What brought you to Jacksonville and what were you actually doing on the ground?
So my undergraduate was in social welfare. I wanted to save the world. And so I joined Volunteers in Service to America and got assigned to Jacksonville. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. I had never heard of Jacksonville, Florida. And so this works with low-income communities to try and get them engaged in really helping themselves. And so I worked with Public Housing Tenant Association and a senior citizen in Springfield. And one of the things I did to help raise money was put on 2 rock concerts. At one time, I aspired to be a music promoter. So that was my little foray into that.
Wonderful. Okay.
It was a really good experience. And so then I went into the private sector and now I'm in this job. And so I feel like I've come full circle.
Oh, okay. So you said that you weren't here, what, as a job offer or a transfer? Or because you were here because you chose the hard work?
So I was in the private sector in banking and human resources for a number of years. I quit to go to grad school to get my master's in communication. I did some consulting for a while, and then I worked as a council aide on the Jacksonville City Council, which was a really incredible opportunity because you get to learn how the city functions or doesn't function, and you really get to know a lot of people. And so then I went to work for the elected property appraiser inside the city government. I got laid off by the new property appraiser. And if that hadn't happened, I would not have found this job. Wow. So I really feel like it was a meant to be.
Wonderful. And so when did you hear about this Emerald train? And so what made you think that this was yours to lead?
Well, I had been very active in my neighborhood in terms of really making things happen and getting the city to kind of do things we wanted to do. And so I already had really good relationships with the city and knew how to work it from the inside and outside, which was really valuable to this. But I am all about, my passion is the urban core and revitalizing the urban core. That's really my passion. And so if you think about this job in terms of building a 30-mile trail and linear park system that connects the urban core, that is absolutely going to lead to revitalization. Our biggest challenge is that it leads to it in the right way. Like if you're intentional, that existing residents and small businesses get to remain and prosper, and then, economic stability comes in with other folks and businesses.
So take me back to 2017 when you walked into the Groundwork Jacksonville for the first time. So what were you inheriting?
Well, at the time, we had a $216,000 budget. We now have a $6 million budget. But we had created a green team program, which is a kind of a high school program in the summer for high school youth to learn about the environment and do work and get paid for that. And that's kind of the only thing we had done at that time. And so we had a new mayoral administration that they didn't have a relationship with. And so the downtown master plan for decades had this idea of a linear necklace surrounding downtown. And so Groundwork Trust us are also about the environment. Like we were brought here to help the city clean up its urban environment. And so if you think about that, that's part of what a trail does, right? Because you're bringing a lot more trees and native plants and all that sort of thing. And so we raised private dollars to develop a trail master plan. We had a steering committee that included residents, but also city folk. And we just blew up that original vision to encompass all of these neighborhoods that surround downtown. So not just downtown itself.
Why I asked this question, because I want people ready to hear that. I hear you that this was not a fully funded, they have a very limited amount of fund, and of course, not a fully staffed organization. Is like, so what I feel that...
There were two of us at the time, two of us.
Oh my God. So yeah, so I feel that you are building the plane and flying it. So where did this belief come from that this is actually going to happen? Because a 30-mile trail in major city and you are almost starting with nothing.
I believe that all things are possible. That is really my philosophy. If you're willing to work for it, right? And so we developed a plan. It had an implementation schedule. It had all the design standards. I knew that the Jacksonville community were known for plans just sit on the shelf and don't actually happen. So I knew that that was the perspective. And so I just started speaking and realized that we had to move pretty quickly to show that we actually would get things done. And so we really raised money for the project itself, not so much thinking about the organization, which we're now having to really start thinking about. But we were able to get an agreement with the city that we would each kick in half for trail design. They would fund construction. That helped us raise private money because the city was matching that. So we just started going, and people saw that it was really going to, and that was critical.
I love what you said. So that's a faith with the plan that if you want to make it possible, it is going to be possible. So most of the people, when they hear trail, they think of it as a recreations. So what does the Emerald Trail actually do for the community it runs through?
So we believe beauty matters as much as function, because what makes people proud of their neighborhood is beauty, right? And people take care of beauty. So we think the trail needs to be as beautiful as it is functional. And that's why landscaping and trees and all of that matter, as well as materials that are attractive and amenities that are attractive. And so it brings them, the people that use trails the most are the ones that live closest to it. So it's bringing an easy way for people to recreate or exercise that's free to them in an area that has a lot of health disparity. So that's number one. It also is allowing people to get around 30 miles without needing a car. And 25% of Jacksonville residents do not own a car, can't afford to own a car. So it's making connections that are much closer when you're on a bike or walking than if you had to go around highways to get some. So it's reconnecting neighborhoods that have been divided by highways. It also brings economic development. I mean, that's happened in every city that does it, which is great. But that's where the challenges come in as well, right? Because you don't want to displace people. But there's a lot of vacant residential land and abandoned commercial structures to bring in new without having to displace again if you're intentional. So it will bring economic development, which means it will bring in more investment. We see the trail as the catalyst for deeper neighborhood investment in terms of really getting them revitalized.
Because 70% of the resident in Jacksonville, which I was reading, is like urban poor or a low income. So that trail is maybe not a luxury for the family, but it's literally a medicine that you guys are creating.
Absolutely. Like within our geographic area, I think the low income is like 67%. Poverty rate is around 30 in some census tracts. And then it's 70% people.
And while I was reading through it about you, so you have this question you lead with. As a resident, what do you want the Emerald Trail to be? So why does that question have to come?
So remember, I come from a neighborhood leadership background, right? Like Jacksonville is a city of neighborhoods. It really is. And everyone loves their neighborhood. And my personal belief is that residents need to have a say in what happens in their neighborhood. And so that is the perspective we come with, that their neighborhood, it needs to work for them, right? So we're sitting at the table together to plan and design.
So it's like a trust builder before even planning too. Okay, got it. The next question is, what does this Emerald Trail's connection to the Creek Restaurant restoration, and the environmental remediation it means for the people who lives there forever?
Yeah, so the project involves 2 urban creek restorations that have been the city's number 1 and 2 flooding priorities for decades. But it was an expensive undertaking and they just weren't doing anything about it. And that's why, again, one of the reasons they brought a Groundwork Trust here to help them figure it out. And so both creeks are flooding, both are polluted, both had been hardened and straightened in the 1920s, and the infrastructure was falling apart. And so each of the creeks are about 3 miles long. So that's going to be 6 miles of the 30-mile trail. And so the first one, our first design project was McCoy's Creek, where the city had finally decided to do it, but they were only going to close a road and let it flood in one part of it, widen it unnaturally in another part, and then not touch the headwaters at all. And so we said, can we please design it? They said, okay, but we're not guaranteeing you that we're accepting your design. And I'm like, challenge on, right? So again, we raised private money. We pulled together a task force of residents and city folks and by the time we finished that 30% design, the city was on board.
Wow.
Accepted that. And our approach was to turn it into a natural stream.
Okay.
Because you can get so many more benefits. It improves water quality. It's habitat for fish and wildlife. We're cleaning up contamination as we go because all of the soil, when you're turning it back into a natural creek, there's a lot of cut and fill because you have to bring back the meanders, right? And so all of the soil we assumed was contaminated and we hauled it off and brought in clean soil where needed. So it's a remediation project in that respect. We're bringing recreation back as well, not just in the headwaters area. They had all of these amazing amenities, including tennis courts that were removed over the years for retention ponds that then did solve the flooding. So we're going to bring recreation back to that area that had it taken away, as well as restore the creek. So the creeks are going to be really the gems of the whole system.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it is. We restored 1 mile of McCoy's, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Wow. Okay. And that's a different kind of accountability. You have a lot, yes. So what do most people, they commonly misunderstood about what it actually takes to build something like this? And how do you make them say yes?
Are we talking about the community or others?
In general, when you're talking about this project, and how do they commonly misunderstood about what you are planning to and what they actually are thinking about?
So I would say that the elected officials have been on board they've been on board.
Okay.
Like they've been on board. Funders have been on board. I think that in terms of funding, again, people have to believe it's actually going to happen for them to want to make it a private investment. I think on the community side, everyone is in favor of it until it's right next to them. And then they have concern. Is it going to bring crime? Is it going to bring... And what we've seen is that throughout the entire country, it's the same thing, right? People are fearful of change.
Of course.
But when they go back after the trail's been built and they survey the community, the majority are really glad it's there. So you just have to know that and work through it, right? So that's why designing to me is a process. It's give and take. It's really listening to concerns and being able to not just hear people, but act on what we're hearing, Yeah. So I would say that.
Okay, wonderful.
And that things take longer than you think. Design and construction takes longer than you might like.
And what has been the hardest part of this building Groundwork Jacksonville that nobody from the outside, the walls would ever see?
Well, I can't really say what that is. So let me think. I can't really say what the real one, the number one is. So I can't say that, but let me think about what else. I think that I'm envious of other trail cities like Atlanta and New York and Miami that have much more access to money, either corporate headquarters or major foundations that we don't have in Jacksonville. So I would say it's harder to raise a lot of private money here.
And that's a really honest answer. Thank you and I really appreciate that. So another question is, how do you reach people in the communities most affected? And the people we have already talked about, but the people who have very reason to be skeptical and actually get them into the room and talking to them.
We have our community engagement staff attend every single neighborhood organization meeting. Again, that's kind of where we started out. When we started designing the McCoy's Creek project, we did visioning sessions with residents. We did a Creek Fest. So we had the big board draft design out there that people could come up and react to. We started a environmental stewardship and training program at their request in that neighborhood. We have community meetings. We'll knock on doors. We've had focus groups. So we really try to reach as many people as we can.
So showing up is the strategy behind your hard work.
Yeah, like keep showing up, gain trust by our actions. And you're never going to reach as many people as you want. It's not easy because folks they are distrustful and they're incredibly discouraged over what hasn't happened over
Right. Yeah.
right. And
It takes time to build that trust. It takes time to build it.
And it's totally understandable. So you can't get discouraged.
Yeah. So what have you tried to grow this mission and move faster that just has not worked the way you hoped?
Well, the city of Jacksonville passed a local option gas tax in 21. I think it was in 21 or in 21. And the city at the time had construction funds for every trail segment in its capital improvement project budget. But what we discovered when we constructed the first one is that we didn't have enough money in there. Okay. So the city decided to put $132 million of gas tax dollars towards the trail. Those gas tax dollars pay out over 30 years.
Oh.
We don't want to wait till 2051 to get the trail done. So that has been very challenging. And then we received a federal grant. We were awarded a federal grant of $147 million, which would have had us getting the whole trail done by 2033 or 2031. And then the grant agreement did not get executed before Trump took office. And then they pulled the funding if you did not have a grant agreement already in place. So we lost that money, which was huge, a huge loss.
Wow.
So we had to regroup. And at this point, we don't necessarily know. We have 5 trail segments to build. We know we can do the next 2. We know we're then not waiting for more gas tax money to trickle in. So we got to figure out then how to fund those next 3 segments. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah, of course, you will figure it out. And I appreciate you being honest because it is easy to only talk about what landed, but the thing that did not work usually teach you more, like what to do and what plan to next. So what takes most of your time on a daily basis? I mean, what is the task or a pressure? Just eat your energy.
Managing staff can staff. I mean, we're just juggling a lot of balls. Like we got a lot of balls. We've got 2 creek projects going on. Mm-hmm. We're about our 4 separate trail design projects. We have to raise money. It's a lot going on. And so, but I tell you, after being in this job now for a while, I used to like there was no tomorrow. It affected my sleep. It's like, I'm an Aquarius, and Aquarius are worriers anyway, but it was like,
same here.
What's the unintended what might go bad? But, all that kind of stuff. And I don't do that anymore. So that's good, right? Like I'm much calmer about it. Like it will happen. We will get it done. You do what you can in the moment, blah, 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 right? So I would just say there's just a lot that you have to be on top of.
And I'm Aquarian too. So I'm Aquarian too.
Oh, I love Aquarians.
I hear you and I completely relate to what I say. There's no tomorrow, but each day and each project is teaching something and we are learning from it. So I feel that, I'm also getting more calmer and maybe treating each opportunities, each project as a single entity, not as it's eating my whole life.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
And so
I also got a professional coach a number of months ago, she's been really helpful. I highly recommend it.
Oh, good.
Because they're really your support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I have been talking to a lot of wellness coaches and they are phenomenal. So I love what they do. I think everybody should have their own coach or the mentor. So, okay, a year from now, so what does success actually look like for you? Not for the organization, but for you personally.
I don't think I need any more awards. Seriously.
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
For me personally, lose 6 pounds, start weight training.
On that train?
Get back to Pilates. Personally, definitely continue to not work on weekends when at all possible, because you really do need that recharging. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to work, there are things I do want to get done, that we need to advance. So, and that's important. Plans. You know what we're doing over the next year.
So I love that you separated those two, like what you want and what your organization wants.
Well, you said personally.
Sometimes people talk about the work, but I really like that you want to do Pilates, you want to do that's beautiful.
I know, but will I actually start doing?
Yes, of course you will, because you're building a trail now, so you can actually walk on it and utilize it. Wonderful. So I'm not right now. I want to talk about where you stand right now with AI as a tool like non-profit groundwork. Like, are you using it or maybe avoiding it or somewhere in between?
So I have not used it, but I tend to not learn new things until I have to, because there's just so much in here already, you know. I have concerns about it because right now we were funded by a foundation that's focused on getting children out into nature and off their devices because it's not good for brain development. It's not good for social development.
Yeah.
And so I think we need more connection as human beings. We need to be out in nature more as human beings and not always on devices. So that is my concern. Like, are we going too far? And with some of these tech billionaires, man, they don't even like humans. They want it to be all robots. They got a lot of money, which means they got a lot of power. So it's just a little scary.
And that's honest.
The unintended consequences, right?
Oh, okay. I hear you. I mean, and that's honest because I'm hearing this from a lot of mission-driven leaders who are thinking about the way you think, and there's no right or wrong way. Okay. So if someone hands you, I think I know the answer, but if someone hands you back 5 to 10 hours a week, what would you actually do with them?
Is it during the work day? Because then I could get more done of the work.
Any 10 hours a week. It's like maybe Monday to Friday. Just give them back to you.
I mean, I could advance the work more. That's what I would say, right?
Because that answer says everything what actually matters to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So what is next for Groundwork Jacksonville, and how can the people listening actually be a part of it?
The people listening could all become Groundwork Jacksonville members.
Oh, wonderful.
For $120 a year or $10 a month. That would be awesome.
Okay.
Because that helps us support the organization.
Mm-hmm.
They could, if anybody out there has deep pockets and wants to help fund the project, they could spread it far and wide, say to the Congress and Mr. Trump, we need to get this project done.
So there's always a way in, and I'm saying everybody who's listening, and she gave you 3 of them. So that's actually a leader who actually wants people at the table, sounds like.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful, Kay. So now we are at the closing of this podcast. So Kay came to this city to serve the people that most institutions overlook, and she never stopped. So what she said about asking residents what they want before even drafting a plan. So that's the whole thing. That is the lesson. So share this episode with one person who is building something in their community. Kay, thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.